What if you could be fined for chewing gum, banned from bringing durians on the train, and even get arrested for being naked in your own home, with the curtains open? Or imagine walking through a tropical garden, spotting a ripe mango on a public tree, only to find out picking it could land you in court. Welcome to Singapore, a city so obsessively clean, they installed urine detectors in elevators. So meticulously planned, even your neighbor's race is chosen by housing policy. And yet, beneath the strict rules lies a vision, order, harmony, and beauty unlike anywhere else on Earth. Join us as we explore the most bizarre and amazing facts about Singapore in today's travel documentary. Country Overview. Singapore isn't just a country. It's an experiment in perfection. Tucked at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, this small island nation spans just 728 square kilometers. But don't let the size fool you. Within this compact space lies a global powerhouse, home to over 5.9 million people and some of the world's most efficient infrastructure. Its skyline rises like origami from the sea. Marina Bay Sands, Supertree Grove, the iconic Merlion. But its soul lives in the quiet hawker stalls, the midnight street cleaners, and the endless hum of a city engineered for order. Singapore has 4 official languages: English, Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil. The weather? Perpetually tropical. Rain can pour from a sunny sky, only to be followed by rainbows over spotless boulevards. It's a nation of juxtapositions: Chinese temples beside Islamic mosques, British colonial buildings beside high-tech vertical gardens. Here, diversity isn't just embraced, it's legislated. And yet, for all its efficiency and polish, Singapore remains deeply human. You'll see it in the elderly uncle sipping kopi under a frangipani tree, in the precision of a noodle vendor's hands, in the way the city exhales after dark. Singapore is often called the Fine City, not just for its beauty, but for its obsession with rules. And today we're about to uncover 20 of the strangest ones. The country that banned gum. Imagine being fined hundreds of dollars just for selling a piece of gum. That's Singapore, where chewing gum isn't just frowned upon, it's virtually forbidden. The roots of this rule go back to the early 1990s. Back then, vandals were sticking gum on elevator buttons, under tables, and most infamously on train door sensors. The disruption was so severe that trains came to a halt. It wasn't just messy, it was expensive. The solution? A nationwide ban. Importing, selling, or even giving away gum became illegal. Except for a few medicinal exceptions like dental gum. Get caught selling it, and you could face a $100,000 fine or even jail time. But you can still chew gum if you bring it yourself and dispose of it properly. The law isn't about what's in your mouth, it's about what lands on the floor. Today, the gum ban is a symbol of Singapore's philosophy: sacrifice a little personal freedom for collective cleanliness and efficiency. Would you give up gum for a spotless subway? Comment 1 if yes. Where nudity in your own home is a crime, you close the door. You're in your apartment. You undress. You walk to the kitchen for a midnight snack. In most places, that's a Tuesday. In Singapore, that could be a crime. Under Singapore's law on public indecency, it's illegal to be naked in your own home, if someone outside can see you. This isn't hypothetical. In 2009, a taxi driver was fined over $2,000 for walking nude in his apartment, because a neighbor caught a glimpse through the window. Why such a rule? The city's high-rise apartments are often built close together, with clear lines of sight into neighboring units. With buildings stacked like dominoes, privacy becomes a public affair. Authorities say the law is meant to deter exhibitionists, or habitual flashers, not everyday folks. But it's enforced, curtains or not. So, in Singapore, freedom doesn't stop at your front door. And the sunlit morning stretch in the nude? Better left to the imagination. Would you survive in a city where even your windows need manners? Comment 2 if yes. No smoking. Almost anywhere. If you're a smoker, Singapore might feel like a labyrinth of no smoking signs. The rules are strict and spread far and wide. Smoking is banned in indoor spaces, parks, public buses, trains, entrances of buildings, and even Orchard Road, the city's main shopping district. You can't smoke within 5 meters of most public buildings, and forget about lighting up at bus stops or playgrounds. Fines? Up to $2,000, even bringing cigarettes into the country is discouraged. Each pack is heavily taxed and plastered with graphic warnings, images of blackened lungs and missing teeth. But designated smoking zones do exist. Small yellow boxes painted on sidewalks or tucked behind buildings. If you need a puff, you'll have to find one of these tiny islands of legal relief. Singapore's mission is clear: protect non-smokers from secondhand smoke and create a cleaner, healthier urban environment. To visitors, it may seem extreme. To locals, it's the reason the air smells like rain, not tar. Could you quit smoking to breathe this clean? Comment 3 if yes. Why you must flush in public? You've just finished in a public toilet. You forget to flush. No big deal, right? In Singapore, that's a legal offense. Under public health laws introduced in 1989, failing to flush a public toilet after use can land you with a fine, $150 for the first time, and up to $1,000 for repeat offenders. To enforce this hygiene, officers sometimes conduct random checks, and public toilets come equipped with warning signs, inspection logs, and even CCTVs. It may sound extreme, but there's history behind the rule. Back in the 70s and 80s, Singapore's public toilets were notorious, filthy, stinking, and unusable. To tackle this, the government launched a national Keep Toilets Clean campaign, complete with school programs, mascots, and slogans. Today, Singapore's toilets are among the cleanest in the world. You'll find them in hawker centers, train stations, and even parks, pristine, stocked, and regularly inspected. Flushing here isn't just courtesy, it's law. Would your country benefit from this kind of bathroom law? Comment 4 if yes. When trees are off limits, you're strolling through a lush park in Singapore. You see a ripe mango hanging low, swaying in the breeze. You reach up, pluck it. Congratulations, you've just broken the law. Under Singapore's Parks and Trees Act, it's illegal to pick fruits, flowers, or any parts of plants in public spaces without permission. Even if a mango falls to the ground, even if no one else is around, it's still protected. Why such a strict rule? Because in a land-starved city with limited green space, every tree matters. Public gardens and reserves are designed not just for humans, but for birds, butterflies, and even monkeys who rely on the fruits for survival. This law preserves biodiversity. It also curbs foraging behavior that could escalate into over-harvesting. So while it might feel like a missed opportunity, that mango belongs to the ecosystem, not your fruit salad. Singapore's message is simple. Look, admire, enjoy. But don't touch. Could you resist the temptation of nature's free buffet? Comment 5 if yes. When music gets you arrested, in most cities, music is a welcome part of street life. But in Singapore, the wrong tune can land you in trouble. According to the Miscellaneous Offences Act, singing obscene or offensive songs in public is punishable by law, with fines or even imprisonment. And it doesn't stop there. Playing loud or disruptive musical instruments in public spaces without a permit can also trigger enforcement. Why such strict rules? Singapore prioritizes harmony, not just as a cultural value, but as a matter of civic order. Sound, especially in crowded public areas, is treated like a shared resource. One person's joy shouldn't be another's disruption. It's part of a broader effort to create peaceful, clean, and controlled public environments. So, street musicians tread carefully. And impromptu singing groups? Think twice before belting. Out tunes in public parks. Here, silence isn't emptiness, it's respect. Would your playlist pass the public test in Singapore? Comment with number 6 if you think so. The pigeon protection law in many parts of the world, feeding birds feels innocent, even heartwarming. But in Singapore, it's a crime. Feeding pigeons in public is illegal and can cost you up to SGD 500 in fines. The reason? Cleanliness and public health. Leftovers attract not just birds but rats and pests. And pigeons, while charming, are notorious for leaving behind unwelcome gifts on benches, sidewalks, and statues. Singapore's urban cleanliness isn't just a visual goal, it's an environmental mission. Even the act of scattering crumbs is treated as a potential ecological disturbance. Authorities patrol parks and city corners to ensure no breadcrumbs slip through. So if you're strolling through a garden and feel tempted to toss some rice to a flock of birds, think again. Here, even kindness must follow protocol. It's not anti-nature, it's pro-balance. A reminder that in Singapore, order isn't just enforced, it's deeply woven into daily life. Don't hug strangers. A hug can mean hello, comfort, or affection. But in Singapore, it can also mean a SGD 1,000 fine. Under the Public Order and Nuisance Act, hugging someone in public without their explicit consent is a punishable offense. This isn't about cultural coldness, it's about boundaries. Singaporean society values respect for personal space, especially in public. In crowded MRT stations or shopping arcades, even a friendly arm around a friend might draw eyes. For strangers, it's strictly hands-off. Consent isn't assumed here. It's requested, respected, and required. Whether for a handshake, a hug, or a photo. And that makes public interactions feel safe, especially for women and chais. The anti-spitting campaign that worked. In many cities, spitting is frowned upon. In Singapore, it's criminal. Spitting on streets, in parks, even in drains, anywhere public, can earn you a fine of up to SGD $1,000. But this law didn't emerge in a vacuum. In the 1970s, Singapore's streets were plagued with poor hygiene and disease risk. Drainage was bad, sanitation worse. Spitting was rampant, and it wasn't just disgusting, it was dangerous. So, under the guidance of Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, the government launched a fierce cleanliness campaign. Posters went up. Health officials went door to door. Public education campaigns taught children that spitting spreads disease. It worked. Today, spitting is rare, and public hygiene is a point of national pride. Tourists often marvel at how spotless sidewalks remain, even during monsoon season. It's not fear, it's culture. People simply don't do it anymore. Because in Singapore, health is harmony. Clean streets are a social contract, and respect starts at the pavement. Durian, the fruit, too smelly for the subway. Imagine stepping onto a subway and being hit with the stench of onions, gas leaks, and old socks, all at once. That's durian, Southeast Asia's most infamous fruit. And in Singapore, it's banned on public transport. Signs at MRT stations show a cartoon durian with a red slash through it. The law doesn't just discourage, it outright prohibits bringing durian on trains or buses. Why? Because durian's smell is overpowering. For some, it's delicious. For others, it's unbearable. The odor clings to clothes, lingers in air, vents, and offends sensitive noses in confined spaces. But make no mistake, outside public transport, durian is beloved. Street vendors proudly stack the spiky fruit under glowing lights. Locals gather to crack one open and dig in with their fingers. It's creamy, sweet, and divisive. The ban isn't about disrespecting culture, it's about context. Singapore understands that passion for durian belongs at the table, not in a crowded train car. Would you carry one past customs? Comment with number 10 if yes. The ethnic quota housing policy. In most countries, housing is about affordability or location. But in Singapore, it can be about ethnicity. Under the ethnic integration policy, you can be denied the right to buy a flat simply because your ethnic group already fills the quota in that neighborhood. The government introduced this rule in 1989, after racial tensions in the 1960s led to deadly riots. The solution? Force integration. Every public housing estate, which is home to over 80% of the population, has a strict ethnic composition limit. Chinese, Malays, Indians, and others must each stay within a set percentage. No group can dominate a block. Critics call it social engineering. Supporters say it prevents racial ghettos and promotes harmony. And strangely, it works. Children grow up with classmates from every background. Neighbors share food, festivals, and stories. Would you support such a law in your country? Comment 11 if yes. No fireworks for you. In Singapore, the sky doesn't light up unless the government says so. Private use of fireworks, even sparklers, is strictly illegal. This law dates back to the 1970s, when firecrackers sparked chaos, injuries, and building fires in Singapore's dense neighborhoods. Today, even possessing a firework without a license can get you fined or jailed. The city-state is compact. Explosions echo fast. One rogue firecracker can panic a neighborhood. That's why only state-sanctioned fireworks are allowed on National Day, New Year's Eve, and special government events. They're big, bold, and safe. Still, for many, something feels missing. Chinese New Year celebrations used to roar with firecrackers. Now, they're quieter, more controlled. But in typical Singaporean fashion, the trade-off is peace, order, and cleaner air. So if you're visiting and feel tempted to bring sparklers in your suitcase, don't. The littering. Shame parade. In most cities, littering earns a fine. In Singapore, it earns you a public performance. If you're caught littering 3 times, you won't just pay. You'll sweep the streets while wearing a bright fluorescent vest labeled, "I'm a litterer." It's part of Singapore's Corrective Work Order program introduced in 1992. The goal wasn't just to punish, but to humiliate, to make offenders scrub the very spaces they once defiled. The bib is no joke. It's big, bright, and in public view. People walk by, they know. The message is clear. Cleanliness is not optional, it's sacred. Singapore is one of the cleanest cities on earth. No gum on sidewalks, no cigarette butts in drains. And the fear of that vest keeps it that way. It may seem harsh, but to locals, it's fairness. Everyone enjoys clean streets, so everyone should respect them. Suicide attempts are criminal. Until recently, attempting suicide in Singapore wasn't just tragic, it was illegal. Under Section 309 of the Penal Code, anyone who tried to take their own life could be arrested, fined, or jailed for up to a year. The law dated back to British colonial times. It was meant to deter, but ended up isolating the most vulnerable. People afraid to seek help, survivors punished instead of supported. It sent a dangerous message. Your pain is a crime. But things have changed. In 2019, the government repealed this law, finally decriminalizing suicide attempts. Instead of punishment, the focus shifted to mental health services, crisis support, and early intervention. Still, the legacy lingers. Singapore has some of the highest suicide rates among youth in Asia, and the stigma runs deep. But step by step, the city-state is learning. Silence doesn't heal, compassion does. When graffiti equals caning. In many cities, graffiti is art. In Singapore, it's a criminal offense, one that can get you caned. Under the Vandalism Act of 1966, spray painting public property isn't just frowned upon. It's punished with mandatory caning and jail time. Yes, caning, a rattan rod striking the bare buttocks. The punishment is both symbolic and painful. The law gained international attention in 1994, when American teenager Michael Fay was caned for vandalizing cars and public property. The case sparked global outrage, but Singapore stood firm. Their stance? Discipline over leniency. Cleanliness over chaos. Today, walls in Singapore are pristine, trains shine, public benches gleam, and graffiti only in sanctioned art zones. To some, it's censorship. To others, it's pride. A city that gleams like a hotel lobby, because the rules demand it. The invisible alcohol ban. It's a warm night. You're at the beach. You crack open a beer under the stars. And suddenly, you're breaking the law. In Singapore, public drinking is banned between 10:30 p.m. and 7 a.m. everywhere. The Liquor Control Act, passed in 2015, prohibits drinking in all public places during these hours. Parks, sidewalks, beaches, even if you're quiet and alone. The law came after late-night incidents linked to alcohol caused public concern. Now, police officers can stop you, fine you, or even arrest you, beer can in hand. Designated drinking zones do exist, like in licensed bars or clubs, but outside of them, your bottle must stay closed. This rule can surprise travelers, especially in a city that feels so cosmopolitan. But Singapore's nightlife is more orderly than wild. The party happens indoors, and on a schedule. So if you're thinking of a late-night toast at Marina Bay, make sure the glass is filled with water. Even citizenship has a gender bias. It's a birthright, but not for everyone. Under Singapore's constitution, citizenship by birth is granted to children only if their father is a Singaporean citizen or permanent resident. If the mother is the Singaporean parent and the father is a foreign diplomat, the child might not qualify. The law, written decades ago, reflects older notions of patriarchy, where nationality flows through the father, not the mother. While rare, this clause has real implications. Children born in Singapore to Singaporean mothers and non-citizen fathers must apply for citizenship through a separate process, and it's not always guaranteed. Activists have long called for reform. They argue that the law discriminates and places an unfair burden on women. In a society that prizes meritocracy and equality, this legal relic feels out of place. But so far the rule remains. Fair or flawed? Comment 20 if this surprised. Singapore may be small, but its laws loom large. Here, order is sacred. Public space is holy. Cleanliness isn't optional. Discipline isn't debatable. But beneath the strict codes lies something rare. Harmony. Safety. A society where everyone knows the line, and no one dares to cross it. From chewing gum bans to fruit-picking laws, each rule tells a deeper story. Of a city that clawed its way from poverty to prosperity. Of a people who chose structure over chaos. Singapore isn't for everyone, but for those who value order, it's a model of modern perfection. We hope this gave you a fresh perspective on Singapore. Like, comment, and subscribe for more journeys. See you in the next video.